Hey, good morning. So we are going to dive into Romans 1:21. So this verse exposes the heart of humanity's rebellion against God. So Paul writes, "For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened." So this verse shows us the downward spiral of unbelief and why the gospel is so necessary. So Paul begins the phrase, although they knew God. And this this word for "knew," it's genuine knowledge. So humanity is not ignorant. God has, we talked about this before, God has revealed himself through creation and conscience. So Psalms 19 tells us that the heavens declare his glory. Acts 14 says he has not left himself without witness. So the problem isn't lack of evidence; it's that it's what people do with the evidence. So next, Paul says they did not honor him as God or give thanks. The word for honor, it's edoxasan, but it's where we get the word doxology from. Right at the end of like a service, you sing a doxology, and doxa means to glorify. So in glorifying is acknowledging God's worth. So to honor God, it's our most basic duty amongst his creation. And so, and then this word for give thanks, we've looked at this before. It's eucharistēsan. So where the word Eucharist, so Catholics, right? When you do, you take the body and blood, we call it communion as Protestants, right? It just basically, Eucharist means give thanks. And look, gratitude is just, it's foundational in worship, right? So, but humanity, refuses to give thanks and to worship. Instead, like of glorifying the Creator, we sometimes glorify ourselves. So instead of thanking him, we take God for granted. And this ingratitude, it's not like a small flaw. It's cosmic rebellion. So Paul then describes the consequences, right? So they became futile in their thinking. And, this word for futile, it's empty, vain, pointless. So when the mind rejects the source of truth, it collapses into this, emptiness, this vainness, this pointlessness, this futility. Ephesians 4:17 and 18, echoes this, saying, unbelievers walk in the futility of their minds, darkened in understanding. So rejecting God doesn't lead to intellectual freedom. It leads to intellectual ruin. I think of the verse in Proverbs, the beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord, but fools despise discipline and understanding. So, really understanding God is the beginning to intellectual pursuit. So finally, Paul says their foolish hearts were darkened. So this phrase, asynetos cardia, right? The heart's cardiac, where we get cardiac from. It means, it's undiscerning, blind. So darkness, here symbolizes judgment and separation from God. So Jesus said in John 3:19 that people love darkness rather than the light because their deeds are evil. So this is just this tragic reality that when people reject God's light, their hearts sink deeper into darkness. John MacArthur, I love John MacArthur, great theologian. He points out that, this verse dismantles the innocent seekers, right? Like the seeker service was like big in like the 90s, 2000s. Humanity isn't seeking God. It's suppressing the truth. Phil Long, great professor of theology at Grace Christian University, he adds to this that this, the foolish hearts being darkened, this, the futility of thinking, mirrors Israel's history actually in the Old Testament, they knew God, yet refused to honor him. So Romans 1:21 shows us this anatomy of unbelief. Knowledge, rejection. You have knowledge, you reject, leads to futility and then darkness. So it reminds us that, unbelief is not intellectual, it's moral. It points us to the gospel because only Christ can renew the mind and bring light to the darkened heart. So for us as believers, this verse calls us to honor God, give thanks daily, and shine his light into the world that has turned away. So anyway, that's today's study. So thanks for watching. God bless. Have a great day.